don't know why some memories return only at night, my cielo. Maybe because the darkness asks for them softly, the way a child tugs at a sleeve. Tonight, as I sit here with my old shawl around my shoulders, a very small moment from my childhood has been knocking at my thoughts, a moment lit by nothing more than a trembling flame. It was a summer evening in my village many, many years ago when the heat had settled on the houses like a tired dog and the air smelled of dust and ripe guavas. I was only a girl then, the kind who still ran barefoot because shoes felt like a kind of prison. And just when everyone was complaining that the day had been long enough, the electricity gave a sigh and the whole village slipped into darkness. To me, it felt as if the world had blinked. One heartbeat, two, and then the night grew thick around us. My mother muttered something about her stew being half cooked. My uncle yelled from another room asking who had turned off the sun. Neighbors called out through their windows, voices bouncing like startled birds. I remember pressing my palms together, not out of fear, but out of a strange, buzzing curiosity. What happens, I wondered, when the whole world has to sit still in the dark? And that was when my abuela appeared in the doorway, calm as a moonrise, holding the old brass lamp she kept for nights exactly like this. She didn't hurry. She never hurried. She walked as if the darkness itself parted to let her pass. She set the lamp on the wooden table, turned the little knob with her thumb, and for a moment, nothing. Just the sound of her breath. Just the quiet. Then, the first spark crackled inside the lamp, tiny as a firefly, and everything began to change. The spark inside the lamp flickered once, like it was deciding whether to be brave, and then a small flame rose up, steadying itself little by little. I leaned close, the way children do, my eyes wide and full of wonder. The brass was warm from my abuela's hands, and the smell of kerosene drifted upward in a soft sigh. It always smelled like old stories to me, stories that had been waiting in the shadows, patient, like cats that know exactly when you're coming home. My abuela lowered herself onto the bench with the grace of someone who had lived a long time inside her own bones. The flame brightened, painting a little circle of gold on her face, and for a moment, I felt as though the world outside that glow had disappeared. Only the flame, the wooden table, and my abuela's familiar silhouette remained. Everything else, the chatter from neighbors, the half-cooked meal, the restless night, seemed to slip away. But even as that small glow settled us into a pocket of calm, something else stirred in the darkness, something that would shape the whole night in ways none of us expected. The grown-ups gathered first, as grown-ups always do when something interrupts their routine. My mother entered the kitchen, half annoyed and half relieved, wiping her hands on her apron. She sat down across from my abuela with the same heavy sigh she used for everything, cooking, gossip, life itself. My uncle shuffled in too, his sandals slapping against the floor, muttering that he'd been in the middle of fixing the radio and that the universe clearly had no respect for his schedule. Then came my cousins, tripping over each other and pretending not to be scared, even though I saw the way they scanned the dark corners of the room. In our village, light was a luxury, and shadows were sometimes bigger than they needed to be. The flame from the lamp made their faces look stretched and curious, like characters in one of the old comic books we passed around until the pages fell apart. But it was the sound of chairs scraping the floor and bodies settling around a lamp that marked the beginning of something unusual. We all leaned into the light without thinking. It felt instinctive, like birds huddling toward warmth. The little flame grew taller, as though it enjoyed the attention. And then my abuela cleared her throat, softly, the way she always did before saying something important. She touched the glass chimney of the lamp with her knuckle just to make sure it was firmly in place. "Bueno," she said, as if announcing the start of a ceremony. "The night wants company. We should not keep her waiting. I sat cross-legged at her feet, and the flame cast a long shadow of her hand against the wall. I loved that shadow. It moved as she moved, slow, round, familiar, like an older sister I never had. Abuela's hands were small, but they carried enough tenderness to quiet a whole room. Outside, the crickets began their nightly chorus, unbothered by the power outage. A dog barked in the distance, its voice echoing down the street like a question no one was prepared to answer. My mother rubbed her in place, complaining that she had planned to finish cooking early and put her feet up. But I knew the truth. She loved these lamplit nights too. Even when she pretended to be annoyed, there was always a tiny smile hiding in the corner of her mouth. But just as everything seemed to settle into a comfortable rhythm, the flame trembled, as if something unseen had brushed past it. I straightened my back. My cousins quieted. Even the adults paused. And though my abuela didn't move, I saw the smallest glimmer of amusement in her eyes. "Ah," she whispered, "she's waking up." "Who, abuela?" I asked, my voice barely a breath. She gave the lamp a gentle tap. "La noche," she said. The night. She likes to stretch her legs first, makes the shadows dance. My uncle chuckled nervously. "Well, tell her not to dance near the chickens. They already look suspicious." My abuela let out a little laugh, low, warm, full of mischief. "Let her dance wherever she wants," she said. "What else is darkness for, if not to show us where the light belongs?" At that age, I didn't fully understand her words, but the tone stayed with me. It made the night feel less like an interruption and more like a guest who had finally arrived at the right hour. Still, there was something else in her voice that night, something that hinted she might know more about this darkness than she usually let on. The lamp settled into a soft, steady glow. It lit up the wooden beams of the ceiling and the faded tiles beneath our feet. Shadows stretched long and thin, like sleepy giants waking from a nap. My mother commented that the mosquitoes would probably be worse without the fans running, and my uncle swore he heard someone outside trying to open the shed door. None of it mattered. The lamp was the center of everything now. The hearth, the storyteller, the beating heart of the room. I remember leaning closer, feeling the warmth on my cheeks, breathing in that smoky scent. My abuela used to say that every flame had its own personality. Some were restless, some shy, some hungry. This one felt tender, like it wanted to comfort us. It swayed gently to the rhythm of our breaths. And just when I thought the night had settled fully into its shape, something unexpected happened. A sudden gust of wind squeezed through the wooden slats of the window, making the flame bend so sharply I gasped. My mother reached for the lamp, but my abuela stopped her with a raised hand. "Let her be," she murmured. "Even flames must stretch." The flame straightened again, brighter now, almost defiant. The circle of light grew just a little wider, reaching the edge of the kitchen shelves where jars of spices and dried herbs glowed like tiny amber jewels. My cousins whispered to each other that maybe the lamp was alive, that maybe it liked us. I didn't argue. In the stillness of that moment, I believed it too. The dog barked again, closer this time. Footsteps echoed somewhere outside, slow, measured, as if someone were walking the length of the street in the dark. My uncle stiffened. The cousins leaned closer. Even my mother stopped fiddling with her apron. And then the footsteps stopped right outside our door. For the briefest second, no one breathed. The door creaked open, only a sliver, and a thin beam of moonlight slipped into the room. My heart jumped. My cousins clutched my shoulders. My mother made a sound halfway between a gasp and a scold. Then a familiar voice called into the darkness. Hay alguien con una vela? I burned my last match. It was Don Mateo, our neighbor. He stepped inside, squinting as though he were entering a holy sanctuary instead of our cluttered kitchen. "Oh, mis ojos," he said, dramatically, blinking. "Your lamp is brighter than the Virgin's patience." My abuela chuckled and motioned for him to sit. Mateo was a thin man, all angles and elbows, always carrying a little pouch of peppermint leaves in his shirt pocket. He claimed they kept the nightmares away. I never knew if that was true, but he smelled like a cool breeze on a summer night. He settled onto a stool and lowered his voice. "You won't believe what I saw outside," he said. "It seems the darkness has brought visitors." "Visitors?" My mother frowned. "What kind?" The room fell silent again, that peculiar silence that feels like someone leaning in, holding their breath, waiting to reveal something you didn't know you needed to hear. But before Mateo could answer, my abuela lifted a finger. "Let the lamp speak first," she said calmly. She turned the knob just a touch, making the flame elongate. Shadows rippled across the wall like ink spreading through water. My cousin shivered, not from fear, but from the feeling that something magical was about to begin. My uncle rolled his eyes, but even he leaned closer. I watched the flame move, slow and graceful, as if it were telling a story.
And without words. Sometimes I believed it really did, that the flame was some old spirit remembering 1,000 nights before mine. The circle of light wavered slightly. Outside, the wind carried a faint smell of wet earth, the promise of rain. My abuela inhaled deeply, as though she could read whole paragraphs in the air. Then she looked at me, straight into my little brown eyes, and said something I've never forgotten. "Listen closely, Niña. Nights like this have their own kind of truth." And before I could ask what she meant, the house gave a small, mysterious creak behind us. A wooden board snapped softly, the sound echoing down the hallway. My mother jumped. My cousins clutched each other. Even Don Mateo straightened his posture, peppermint pouch rattling softly in his shirt pocket. But my abuela only smiled, the way someone smiles when they're expecting an old friend. "Ah," she said, "there she is." "There who is?" my uncle asked, though his voice was already a little shaky. "The house," abuela replied simply. "She speaks louder when the lights go out. She's not used to being ignored." I turned toward the hallway, half expecting to see the shadow of some wandering spirit. But all I saw were the outlines of our familiar shelves and the door to the courtyard. Still, the house did feel different, more awake, more aware. And as we all listened, really listened, another sound floated through the air, soft and rhythmic. But that sound, that presence, would lead us deeper into the heart of that night than any of us knew. The sound that floated toward us was soft, hardly more than a fluttering whisper, the kind of sound you might dismiss during the day. But at night it becomes something else. It came from the far end of the hallway, where the wooden chest sat beneath the window. A rhythmic tap, 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 as if tiny fingers were drumming on the lid. My cousins froze. My mother pressed her lips together. Don Mateo's hand drifted toward his pocket of peppermint leaves, as though they were a charm of great power. But my abuela only nodded, as if she'd been waiting for this moment all evening. "She wants a story," she said. "Who?" I whispered. "The house," she replied, stroking the side of the lamp. "Every home has its own memory, and tonight she wants hers told." I didn't question her. When abuela said something, it simply felt true. The way the river felt wet, or gava smelled sweet, or darkness settled like a blanket over the whole village. The flame inside the lamp brightened just a little, as if agreeing. And that was when abuela began her storytelling ritual. She straightened her shoulders, smoothing the wrinkles in her skirt, and inhaled slowly, the same way she did before kneading dough or blessing someone's forehead. "Bueno," she said softly, her voice dipping into its storytelling tone. "If the night is listening, let her listen well." We all leaned closer. It didn't matter that the room was warm or that the smell of kerosene curled like a ribbon in the air. The entire world narrowed to that little flame and the woman sitting beside it. "Once," Abuela began, "when your abuelo was still handsome enough to cause trouble." My mother groaned. "Mamá, por favor." Abuela waved her off. "Ay, hija, truth is truth," she said, and continued, eyes sparkling. She told us about a time when the electricity went out for 4 whole days, long before I was born. How the entire village gathered every night under her lamp, the very same lamp burning now, while the river hummed like an old woman easing into bed. She described how neighbors shared tortillas, stories, and secrets they wouldn't have dared whisper in daylight. Her voice softened, curling around every word, as if the past were still warm in her hands. But just as she reached the part about the wandering musician who slept under their jacaranda tree, something else shifted in the room. The flame flickered sharply, stretching long and thin like a finger pointing toward the far corner. I followed its direction. That corner had always seemed ordinary during the day, nothing more than a stack of folded blankets and a chipped ceramic pot. But now, under the lamp's glow, it looked deeper somehow, almost like a doorway. I wasn't the only one who noticed. Don Mateo's eyebrows shot up. My cousins huddled closer together, whispering that maybe the wandering musician had returned as a ghost. My uncle muttered something about checking the chickens again, a convenient excuse to escape. But Abuela only smiled, slow and knowing. She hummed. That corner always did like company. She tapped the lamp gently with her nail, and the flame rounded back into its usual shape. "Don't mind her," she said. "Corners like to listen. They hear everything." I breathed out, relieved, though a tiny part of me wondered what stories the corners kept, and which ones the "you were waiting to hear." Abuela's storytelling resumed, but now there was something different in her voice, a deeper rhythm, a quiet magic unfurling in the shadows. "When the lights go out," she said, "the truth grows braver." Her voice wrapped around us, soft but steady. "People think darkness hides things, but no, mis amores, darkness reveals what we don't see during the day." She leaned closer to the lamp, and the flame illuminated the delicate lines on her face. "Take this lamp," she said. "She has seen more nights than any of you. Every birthday, every storm, every cry you didn't want anyone to hear." My mother winced. "Every stolen kiss," Abuela added, glancing teasingly at her. "Mama!" We all laughed, quietly, but with that warm, shaky laughter that comes when fear and tenderness hold hands. Abuela continued, "This lamp is a reminder that even a small light can show you just enough. Not everything, just enough." Her words sank into me like warm water. And even now, all these decades later, they return whenever my mind becomes too noisy. But before I could float fully into that comfort, Abuela paused, turning her head toward the window. Her eyes narrowed, her voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you hear that?" A new sound drifted in, faint, distant, like something brushing against the outside wall. It was a soft scraping sound, steady and slow, as if someone were dragging a branch along the wooden boards of the house. My cousin stiffened. My mother made the sign of the cross. Don Mateo held his peppermint pouch like a talisman. We all listened. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Abuela didn't flinch. She tilted her head the way she did when trying to catch a melody. She finally said. She's waking up old stories tonight. Who? My uncle asked, his voice half a whisper, half a whine. The wind, Abuela replied. She remembers everything we forget. I exhaled, relieved once again. In Abuela's world, nothing was ever frightening, only misunderstood, or perhaps misunderstood on purpose. She had a way of turning the unknown into a neighbor you just hadn't met yet. She settled back onto the bench. Now, where was I? She said, tapping the lamp with her knuckle. And just as she opened her mouth to continue, the flame leaned toward her, as if eager to listen too. Abuela smiled at the lamp, and for a moment I swear she looked younger, almost girlish. See, I'll tell it properly, she murmured, as though the flame had made a request. Her voice took on that deep, soothing timbre that always signaled the beginning of a new tale, one not entirely meant for children, but still safe enough for young ears to hear. In those 4 nights without electricity, she said, the lamp became our window to the world. People came from every street, bringing chairs, cookies, guitars. We talked until the air grew sweet from all the stories. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. But the last night, that one was special. I felt a shiver of anticipation. That night, she continued, the lamp did something it had never done before. What did it do? I whispered. Abuela smiled mysteriously. Patience, Niña. Some stories must walk slowly to arrive. She reached for a cup of water, sipped, and placed it down. But before I tell that part, she said, I must tell you about the man with the silver harmonica. The what? My cousins breathed. Abuela nodded, eyes soft. I see. A man who carried sadness in his pockets and music in his breath. He played only at night and only when the lamp was lit. My heart fluttered. Even the flame seemed to sway in anticipation. But before he arrived, she said gently, something else happened. Something the children of the village never forgot. The lamp flickered sharply, as if urging her to continue. The children, Abuela said, claimed they saw shadows dancing on the jacaranda tree. I leaned forward, mesmerized. Not just moving, she clarified, dancing, spinning like little ghosts with somewhere joyful to be. My cousin squeaked, my mother groaned, my uncle muttered, "Here we go." But Abuela only chuckled. Don't be dramatic. They weren't ghosts. Children see possibilities where adults see problems. She tilted her head toward the hallway. Like that tapping sound earlier. You all heard danger. I heard curiosity. The night is full of little curiosities. Her smile softened. And that night long ago, the shadows danced because someone was walking toward us, someone with a song in his hands. Don Mateo gasped softly. "The harmonica man." "Yes," Abuela said, "but there is something you don't know." She paused. We all leaned in. "The lamp," she whispered, "glowed brighter when he arrived." "Brighter?" I repeated. "Brighter," she said firmly, as if welcoming him. Her eyes flickered toward the lamp now burning beside us, the very same lamp. And as if remembering that long ago, the flame trembled again. Don Mateo shivered. "Ay, mujer," he whispered. "Don't tell me this lamp is enchanted." Abuela shrugged lightly. "Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But everything shines a little differently when someone brings music into the room." She placed her hand on the table, fingers splayed, and closed her eyes as though searching through the past. The harmonica man had a sadness that sat on his shoulders like a wool blanket, heavy, warm, and never fully dry.
But when he played, her voice softened. When he played, the sadness lifted from him like steam. I imagined it, a stranger arriving through the dark, carrying nothing but a silver harmonica and a heart full of stories he never spoke aloud. The lamplight catching the metal, the shadows swaying, the hush of the village leaning in to listen. And when he finished playing, Abuela said, he told your abuelo something that stayed with him for years. She lifted her head, looking at each of us in turn. But before she could speak the words, a soft thump sounded from the hallway. My uncle bolted upright. What was that? My mother's hand flew to her chest. My cousins clung to each other. Even Don Mateo leaned forward, clutching his peppermint like a prayer. The thump came again, gentle, rhythmic, like something knocking politely. Abuela didn't panic. She just inhaled and said, "Someone is awake." "Who?" I whispered. She smiled faintly, an old memory. That was all she said. She reached out, turned the knob of the lamp once more, and the flame grew taller, casting warm gold across the hallway entrance. And in that glow, something began to move. A shadow, small, familiar, slowly stepping toward us. The shadow stepped toward us slowly, swaying just a little, as though unsure of its own legs. My cousins squeaked and pulled their knees to their chests. My mother whispered, "Ay, Dios mío," even though she knew perfectly well that nothing holy ever arrived that quietly. The shadow grew clearer as it entered the edge of lamplight, and then, finally, we saw it. It was only our cat, Luna, thin, gray, and perpetually annoyed, with whiskers that stuck out like antennae searching for better company. She despised darkness, but adored Abuela, so naturally she tiptoed toward the one warm pool of light in the whole house. Everyone exhaled at once, except Luna, who looked offended that we had reacted as if she were some wandering phantom. She leapt onto Abuela's lap, circled 3 times with great ceremony, and settled into a tight curl. "See," Abuela whispered, scratching behind her ears. "Even she knows the house is awake tonight." Luna closed her eyes, purring like a tiny engine. And the moment she did, the house let out another sound, one deeper, older, and somehow wiser. It was a long, low creak, the kind that travels through wooden beams like a slow exhale. It came from the roof, then the walls, then the floor under our feet, as though the entire house were stretching after a long day. "The old girl is lively tonight," Don Mateo said, though he said it with the cautious tone of a man who wasn't entirely sure if he was complimenting or provoking something unseen. Abuela chuckled softly. "She's been waiting for a night like this. Look how she talks when the lights go out." The house gave another creak, gentler this time, as if agreeing. My mother pressed her palm to the table. "It feels like it's breathing." "It is," Abuela replied without hesitation. "All houses breathe. They just do it quietly most days." As a child, that idea didn't frighten me. On the contrary, it comforted me. If the house breathed, then it was alive, in the same way a grandmother was alive. Full of stories, full of memories, full of secrets it never told unless coaxed by the right kind of night. And this night? Oh, this night was coaxing plenty. Still, as the house murmured around us, another sound drifted in through the window, a soft, rhythmic rustling that made even Abuela lift her head. It came from the yard, where the jacaranda tree stood tall and half wild. Its branches brushed against the roof in slow, sweeping motions, like a hand stroking someone's hair. Rustle, pause, rustle. "It's the wind," my uncle muttered, though he sounded unconvinced. "No," Abuela said gently, "not just the wind. Listen." We listened. Rustle, shuffle, rustle. The branches were moving strangely, not wildly, not randomly, but as though something were passing through them, something light or cautious or curious. My cousins leaned so close their heads touched. My mother whispered a prayer I'd heard her use in thunderstorms. Don Mateo looked at the window with narrowed eyes and sucked on a peppermint leaf. Then the sound paused. Everything paused. Even Luna opened one eye. Then a single sharp crack, like a twig snapping. My heart fluttered, and Abuela smiled. "Ah," she whispered, "she's telling us to continue." "Who?" I asked for what felt like the 10th time. Abuela touched the lamp. "La noche. Nights like this, they don't like silence." And so she continued, but not before the flame stretched tall, almost expectant, as if it too wanted to hear the rest. Abuela shifted in her seat, settling Luna more comfortably in her lap. "Now listen closely," she said, "because this next part, this is where the lamp taught me something important." She tapped the side of the lamp with her finger. The flame shivered, then steadied. "The night the harmonica man came," she said, "the lamp burned brighter. Not because of him, no, but because of what he carried with him." "What did he carry?" I whispered. "A decision," Abuela replied, "and decisions are heavier than sadness." She folded her hands on her lap. "That night, just like this one, the house listened. The shadows leaned close. Even the wind quieted, because the man was deciding whether to leave the village forever or stay one more night." "Why?" Don Mateo asked. Abuela sighed, eyes drifting toward the window. "Because he had lost someone, and the world felt too wide after that." Her words hung in the air, soft and heavy. But before she could continue, a sudden thud came from the roof, loud enough to rattle dust from the beams. My cousins shrieked and ducked. My mother slapped her hand over her heart. My uncle swore he'd seen something pass by the window, though, knowing him, he might have seen only his own reflection. Abuela didn't flinch. "Calm yourselves," she murmured. "The jacaranda is dropping its dry pods again." Another pod hit the roof, crack, crack, like knuckles tapping on a door. But something felt different this time. The lamp flame fluttered gently, as though stirred by a breath. Luna's ears twitched, and for one long moment, the night felt full of something unspoken. Then Abuela continued, her voice steady, as though the house itself had signaled for her to go on. "The harmonica man sat right where you are, Mateo," she said, nodding toward him. He held his instrument with both hands, like someone holding an apology. "What was he apologizing for?" I asked softly. "For leaving," she replied, "but not for coming back." She smiled at the memory. "He played a song so soft it felt like someone brushing tears from your cheeks. And when he finished, he looked at your abuelo and said..." She paused. We leaned closer. But before she could speak the words, the lamp flickered hard, as though something invisible had leaned too close to hit. "My goodness," my mother whispered. "Is there a draft?" "No," Abuela said calmly. "Someone's listening." "Who?" my uncle demanded, looking around as if expecting the harmonica man to materialize beside the jar of dried chilies. Abuela didn't answer. She simply looked at the lamp, really looked at it, as if reading an expression on its tiny flame. Luna lifted her head, eyes fixed on the hallway again. Her tail flicked once, sharply. The house creaked, long, slow, deep, almost like a hum. Abuela smiled. "She remembers him," she said softly. "The house remembers the harmonica man?" I asked. "Of course," she replied. "She remembers everything. The laughter, the arguments, the songs, the fear, the comfort, every footstep that ever crossed her floor." I shivered, not from fear, but from the strange, beautiful idea that the house was a kind of guardian, a witness to every quiet moment we had forgotten. "And she wants us to finish the story," Abuela added. So she continued, but not before glancing once more at the dark hallway where something unseen seemed to wait. "The harmonica man looked at your abuelo," Abuela said, "and he said, 'The world is too dark for me. I need help seeing again.' My heart tightened, even as a child listening from the floor. And your abuelo," she continued, "told him, 'Then sit with us. Let the lamp show you just enough.' Just enough. Not everything, just enough. That was one of the first lessons the lamp ever taught me. But before I could fully sink into that memory, another sound came from the yard, a soft, almost melodic whistle floating through the slats of the window. We froze. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't anything I had heard before. It rose gently, fell, then rose again, like someone playing a tune without an instrument. My uncle's jaw dropped. My cousins pressed their palms to their mouths. Even Don Mateo's peppermint pouch slipped from his hand. My mother whispered, "It can't be." But Abuela nodded slowly, calmly, knowingly. "It is," she murmured. "Even memories have voices." I felt my heart flutter, but not from fear. There was something soft in that sound, something familiar, something tender. "It sounds like," I began. "Yes," Abuela said before I could finish, "like a harmonica." The melody drifted through the meditative, thin, trembling, and impossibly gentle. And then it stopped. The night fell silent again. But before any of us could speak, Luna stood up, arched her back, and stared at the hallway with eyes wide as moons. The hallway, dark a moment before, now held a faint glow. Not from the lamp, not from the moon. A separate glow. Soft, pale, almost bluish. My breath caught. My mother clutched the table. My uncle gasped. Even Don Mateo rose halfway from his stool. The glow trembled once, like something trying to take shape, then brightened just enough to outline the edges of the doorway. Luna hissed softly, but didn't move. And Abuela? Abuela simply smiled. "Ah," she whispered, "there you are." We stared at her. "Who?" I asked. But she didn't answer with words. Instead, she lifted her hand toward the hallway, palm open, gentle as a blessing, and the bluish glow flickered, as though answering her gesture, and stepping closer. The bluish glow stepped forward as if it had been invited to the table. We watched it move, amazed and a little foolish, like children peeking through a keyhole. Luna hissed once, but she didn't run. She seemed to understand that this glow was not here to frighten anyone. It was curious, like a stray cat that had wandered too far from home. As it reached the hallway threshold, the glow gathered itself and revealed a figure. Not frightening, not large, just a man with shoulders hunched like someone carrying a secret too heavy to stand upright with. In his hands, cupped as if they held something sacred, was a small silver harmonica. The metal caught the lamp's light and sent a quick, bright wink across the room. I remember my heart beating so loudly, I thought the lamp might start to tremble with it. The man smiled at us, shy and tired. He did not speak at first. He only set the harmonica to his lips and, with a breath so soft it was almost prayer, played. The notes were simple, a tiny river of sound that rolled into the corners and diluted the tension like rain on dust. It was a tune I'd never heard before, but somehow new, like a language spoken to the inside of your chest. People leaned in without deciding to. My uncle's mouth softened. Don Mateo closed his eyes so tightly his face creased. My mother's fingers curled around the table edge as if holding on to something she could not yet name. And when he finished, the silence that followed was not empty. It held the flavor of something shifted, a small, good turning of the world. He set the harmonica down gently on the table as if it were a sleeping bird. "I didn't mean to scare the house," he said, his voice like gravel softened by water. "I thought I would pass by, but the night called." My abuela nodded like she understood every whisper the world made. "She does that," she said. "She calls who needs to be found." The man looked at my abuelo, who sat in the corner pretending he had been awake the whole time. "I was going to leave," the man confessed, voice low. "But when I heard the lamp, I thought, maybe one last song." My abuela grunted, the way men do when they want to say more but will not be embarrassed by feeling. "You played well," he said finally. "You made the house remember how to forgive." The man blinked and smiled, like someone who'd forgotten he had anything to forgive. "It was forgiveness I needed," he admitted, "for leaving, for being afraid." He turned to the lamp, as if the brass held a council. "Your light," he said, "it made me brave enough to play." My abuela patted the table. "Then stay a while. Music has a way of fixing things that hammers can't." He sat. We offered him warm tortillas and beans, though his hands trembled as he ate. He told us small things, a place where he'd been, a woman he once loved who left like steam, a dog that had followed him for 3 barrios. He did not tell us everything. No one ever tells everything. But what he shared softened the night like milk and coffee. And under that lamp, he untied a knot that had been snug around his chest for years. Outside, the wind picked up, and the jacaranda shook its branches like a hand applauding quietly. The house hummed like an old radio finding a station, and somewhere far down the street, someone started to whistle, perhaps remembering the harmonica's echo. Then, just as the warmth of the room seemed to settle into a new kind of peace, a thin electrical buzz cut through the air, faint at first, then growing, as if the earth itself were clearing its throat to speak. My mother blinked. My uncle muttered something about finally the lights. Don Mateo squeezed his peppermint pouch as if it had become suddenly superfluous. Abuela looked up at the ceiling and smiled that soft smile that means this is how it goes. I felt the pulse of the house quicken and knew the moment had come. The light.
Lights returned. A sharp, white light flooded the room like someone had turned on a very large lamp in the sky. The sound of the radio, the terrible telenovela theme we teased about, burst into being. The fan above began to spin with a hungry whir. Eyes watered a little at the sudden brightness. Someone laughed, the laugh small and startled, like a person who remembers how to speak after a long silence. For a heartbeat, the white light felt like a thief. It swept over corners of the room that the lamp had made sacred and revealed them to be ordinary. The shadows fled. The harmonica's last note seemed to thin a little in the starkness. Then my abuela did something unexpected. She stood, walked to the lamp, and cupped it in both hands as though it were fragile. She kissed the brass and said, "Thank you," out loud, like offering it a blessing. Then she turned the lamp's little knob the opposite way, the way one might close a book with affection. The room hummed. The man with the harmonica looked at the lamp, then at Abuela, and bowed his head as if to pay respects. and I understood in a small, sudden way that there are lights meant for rooms and lights meant for the sky, and both have their work to do. That night, the guests left eventually, one by one, with warm pockets and softer chests. The harmonica man walked back into the blue of the road, playing a tune that seemed to thread the village together like a seam. Don Mateo pocketed his peppermint without thinking, humming the last bar. My uncle grumbled about how no one could trust the electricity to stay off for more than an hour, and we all laughed softly because the joke was gentle and true. My abuela sat back down and lifted the lamp to the table's center as if ensuring it had returned to its place of honor. She stroked the brass and said to all of us, "Remember this, light is a companion. Sometimes it is only a small companion, but she is honest." I asked her once, much later when I was grown and had her hair silver like moonlight, why she kept the lamp even when the house had full electricity. She looked at me with those eyes that had seen seasons enough to know seasons' names, and she said, "Because not all rooms need the same light, Nina. Sometimes you must choose what you allow to shine." And that is how I learned, slowly, not all at once, to decide what to illuminate and what to leave in the safe, soft dark. But that evening in the village left me with another, quieter thing, a habit, a way of keeping a small light near me for times when the world felt too bright and sharp. Years passed. Seasons turned like the pages of an old calendar. I grew up. I married. I crossed an ocean with 2 suitcases and a heart full of guavas and a lamp carefully wrapped in newspaper. In a new country, the streets hummed with a different kind of electricity, neon signs, bright kitchens, the white, clinical light of supermarkets. It was useful light, efficient and clear. It showed me everything at once and gave me very little time to think. So I kept my little lamp tucked on a shelf, a brass island among cookbooks and photographs. When nights were loud in the new place, when the city made its restless noises and my thoughts began to sprint in places I did not want them to go, I would take the lamp down, fill it with oil, and light its small flame. It changed the room entirely, as it had in my childhood kitchen. The lamp did not compete with the city's brightness. It only asked for a corner. It told me, without many words, that it was okay to pay attention only to what fit within that circle. It asked me to let go of the rest for a while. Sometimes I would think of the harmonica man and the way the village had gathered. Sometimes I would picture my abuela's face in the lamp's golden pool and feel my shoulders relax a fraction. The lamp became a small ritual, a permission to slow my breath, to watch shadows move like small animals, to remember that not every thought deserved to be chased. And on nights when sleep would not come, I would sit near the lamp and speak softly to the dark, as if it were an old friend. I would tell it the names of my day's small failures and small wins. I would let the lamp hold them until they were not hot anymore. It is a gentle practice. It is not magic in the firework sense. It is simply a way to choose where to place my attention. If you, tonight, have thoughts that race like stray dogs, you might try this too. Find a small light. Anything will do. A candle, a dim lamp, the glow of a phone with its brightness turned way down, and allow yourself only to see that small circle. Put your hand near the light, but not so close it will warm your skin. Breathe slowly, counting softly to 4 on the inhale and 4 on the exhale. Name 3 small, ordinary things you can see in that circle. Then let your mind rest on the silence that lives just outside the light. Let it be patient. Let the night be what it is, a companion, not an enemy. And while you do that, if you are willing, I will sit with you here, by this lamp, and tell one last small thing. When the harmonica man left that night, he walked slowly. People thought he had learned something big. Maybe he had. Maybe what he learned was not a grand lesson, but a little permission that to be brave sometimes means staying long enough to let the light help you see what you brought with you. I think about that a lot. I think about all the small lights we carry, the kindness we offer strangers in grocery aisles, the quiet reaching for a friend on a bad day, the way we tuck extra blankets into the closet for someone who might be cold later. Those are small lamps too. They don't fix everything. They simply give us a place to rest while the rest sorts itself out. If the lamp in my hands could speak, it would say nothing showy. It would say, simply, choose your light. Choose what you attend to. Let the rest live in the dark for a little while. And now, mi corazón, the night has been listening with us long enough. This is my last little instruction for tonight. Breathe once more, gentle and slow. Imagine the flame beside you, a small gold pool. Feel your shoulders uncurl as if easing off a heavy coat. Let your thoughts come, name them softly, the small regret, the tiny victory, and then let them be held by that light for a while. You do not have to fix anything tonight. You only have to be. If sleep comes, let it take you like a boat slipping from the shore. If it does not, keep the lamp with you in imagination. Let it be enough. I will dim my voice now to a whisper. I will leave the lamp burning for a little longer, not because it must, but because sometimes we like to be kept company on the edge of sleep. Close your eyes when you are ready. Carry this small light in your hands, even if only in your mind. Buenas noches, mi cielo. Rest well. I'll be here in the little brightness, keeping watch with you.